was a good one.
All right, people. Welcome to the main event. Are you ready to rumble? Oscar de la Hoya.
Garcia!
Right, Garcia.
Come on, Garcia. So my topic is slavery. And so first I want to start off saying, what was a slave? Sterling?
Oh, I can go?
Yeah.
A slave was a person that was owned by another person because it was either taken over or controlled.
Oscar just stares.
Right.
He's a starer.
So my thesis statement was, I said slaves were important because they helped build cities and make the civilization more advanced. Next slide. And so my first question was, how did they keep slaves from escaping? And so they kept slaves from escaping by putting on chains on their feet and on their hands. So in the nights, they wouldn't be able to really get away that far. And if they did want to get away, if they did manage to get far, they would send, people to go search for them. Next slide. My next question was, what was the jobs of the slaves? And so slaves pretty much did everything depending on who owned them. Like, if they were owned by a king or something, they would send them to make buildings. And if they were just owned by a person, they would just do his regular duties, like make him run errands or clean their house or, yeah, next slide. So how many slaves could a person own? It didn't really matter. All that really mattered is how much money they had. And so if they had a lot of money, they could buy as many slaves as they wanted. But if they didn't have, if they were pretty poor, they could only buy like 1 or 2 slaves. Next slide. And so how could slaves earn their freedoms? There's actually a couple of ways. There's one where the owner could set them free, informally or formally, which the informal they would throw kind of a celebration. And informal was just kind of to write a letter and saying that they were free. Their masters could also leave them to be freed in their will when they died, or they could buy their freedom by working. Working, they could pay their owners back for their freedom. Next slide. So connections to today's world is that, well, not now, but in past times we used to have slaves, but there's one really main difference is that in Roman slaves, the only thing that mattered to become a slave was if you were captured or your parents sold you to slavery. But today, usually people that were, had colored skin would be put into slavery. Next. So, if slaves hadn't existed, Rome wouldn't be able to advance their civilization. The idea of slaves might have not been passed down, and Rome wouldn't even have been an empire. So, next slide. In conclusion, no slaves, no Rome.
Show us your costume that you. Just tell us a little bit about how you made it.
So I just kind of bought a ball from a store, and so I put little zip ties or whatever they're called to make the chains, and then I got hair bands.
Nice. And the shackles on your hands, are those made of?
These are, I'm not sure what they're actually made of. I don't know what the material is actually called, but plastic.
Cool. You made it all yourself?
Yeah.
That's wicked. All right, questions about slavery?
Armando?
Oh, you said that slaves could buy their freedom. How much money would the slaves make?
Well, it actually depended. Some of them, it depended on how much their master wanted. So, usually they would have to pay back how much it costed for them to be bought. Sometimes it would be less, and sometimes it would be more. Their master provided clothes and food for them. Oliver?
Could slaves ever be free?
Like, could their owners freedom?
Oh my god!
You really need to listen better.
That was one of those questions.
Oh,
Wow.
sorry.
Okay, we need to just tell them our compliments. What do you think were the best parts?
Brody.
So, your model, that was very, very good and unique. And then also just your